Hey y'all, I'm Tim.
Good morning, I'm Matt, and we've got a super 10 at 10 coming to you today. Today is the 10 at 10 for May 24th of 2022, so hope you're excited. Open house is right around the corner. We've got that coming up. If you're watching this premiere live, it is literally a week away, or less than a week away, so get ready for that.
On Monday, Memorial Day, we'll have a big, huge open house here at MrMaple. We'll have a preview video of that coming up real soon as well. That is going to be such a fun event. If you can make it out here, that would be awesome. Don't wait on these trees until then. They will sell out. So if you see something you'd like to pick up, then you can use code MrMaple Pickup. That's all capital letters, no spaces. Hit apply. That takes off the shipping cost, and you can pick that up at MrMaple Day. And that's only for pickup at MrMaple Day here at MrMaple. So make sure if you're going to do that, use that code, hit apply. That will get these plants reserved for you. They will likely sell out just like they've been selling out the last few weeks on the 10 at 10. So don't wait on these for MrMaple Day. They may not be there.
We've got a great 10 at 10 for you here today though. We've actually put more trees on the table than normal. I think we got about 15 different trees here on the table to go through for you today. So a super video today for the 10 at 10. We're gonna get underway.
Yeah, and this is only 15 of the 20 trees getting listed today at 10 a.m. So to be on the list, to get the full listing, sign up for our weekly emails on MrMaple.com. We add at least 10 new neat trees every Tuesday at 10 a.m. This week it's 20. So if you're just watching this video and you want to figure out the other 5, you can log in at 10 a.m. But if you want to get on for next week's mailing list, you can get the full listing at 9 a.m. so you can be prepared when that 10 a.m. hits to know exactly what you want to go and check out with quickly before it sells out.
So first up here, we've got Japanese Princess. Japanese Princess is always a popular tree. We've got these back in stock for this 10 at 10. A little past the spring color. You can see these are a little greener, especially in our greenhouses right now, but an amazing tree for that bright pink coloration, especially in that early spring.
This is probably one of our most popular forms of the Mikawa variant. Once you pass Mikawa Yatabusa, the most popular variant we have is the Japanese Princess. And that pink color in the spring is real special and unique. But what makes this plant too very special is it is smaller than Mikawa Yatabusa, and the leaf twists. So you often get a little bit of a twisting leaf. Now, some years you may get an environmental habit that's a little bit different where it gets a little flatter leaf, but for the most part, you're gonna get a twisting leaf on a smaller growing, tightly dense Mikawa variant with that pink or to orange spring color.
Yeah, we list these as only around 3 feet, even in 10 years, so great for that smaller overall setting. It's a great plant for container culture. Just make sure you have good drainage on the container. An awesome plant. Mine in the ground actually still have a lot of color. If you're getting them in heavy shade, they will green up quicker. I find that up to zone 8, these handle a good bit of sun, so you can get these in the sun up to zone 8. And you actually get better color, I think, on the Mikawa variants with at least morning sun.
And if you have daughters like Matt does, and you want to grow a Japanese Princess on the porch in a container, they're going to love that. I mean, they love princesses, those young ladies. And I know your Caroline and Tinsley are all about
princess anything, right? That's why we named Pink Princess actually here at the nursery. We had Pink Princess because I had Caroline on the way, and Carl said, find us a name for this broom. But Japanese Princess, an awesome Japanese maple. You probably know that one if you're watching our channel. It's one we can't keep in stock quick enough, but coming back to you this Tuesday.
Yeah, it's a selection by Talon Buchholz to introduce the Go series, and it's probably one of my favorites of his introductions. I mean, he's introduced a lot of really cool plants, and that's probably one of my favorites. Next up, we've got THUJA Frankie Boy. I love this plant. Whenever I saw this the first time, I just fell in love with this plant. These sort of golden yellow to dark green spring colors look almost just like someone's hair sticking up.
Right.
And it's such a fun conifer that adds a lot with a nice pyramidal shape. And during the winter months, it actually turns more bronze orange. So it gives you a really nice winter interest with the small growing THUJA.
You've heard me say this about plants before, but some plants have that quality where they feel like you can interact with them in the garden. You can talk to them in the garden. And Frankie Boy certainly has that quality. It kind of looks like something that's a little bit more creature, maybe a hairdo, but it definitely feels like something that might talk to you every now and then. It is a fun plant in the landscape. It's definitely one that gets kids in the garden. It just has that overall rounded appearance to it. And it's a fun plant. Kind of looks like a mohawk sometimes here in the garden too.
Now, conifers like maples like good drainage. You want to make sure you give them plenty of drainage. And conifers, most of the conifers that we do here, prefer more sunlight. So don't put these in a deeply shaded garden. You want to give them a little more sunlight to really give these plants the true density that they really deserve for the conifers.
Yeah, another fun one though, one we can't keep in stock enough. Next up here on the table, we have another princess. This is KURENAI JISHI.
Yeah, the deep red line. We love this plant. This is such a cool plant. We've recently did a video that we're about to update on this, and this is one of the most sought after Japanese maples that we have here at the nursery. Nurserymen have been searching for the red line for years. They brought it to the United States in 2008, and this is such a cool plant with the twisting leaf, like the Shishigashira or the lion's head, but gives you some good red color.
Definitely check out our recent video on KURENAI JISHI. We show some in some different settings, sun and shade. A lovely plant. This one will have, I think, a little better color if you can give it a little bit of sun, but it's an awesome plant for that early morning sun, late day shade setting. Leaves out bright red in the early spring, and then it's going to get to a little bit more of that darker red, then a green color, and then really nice in the fall where it's more oranges to reds. We kind of see it has that almost Shishigashira-like reddish fall color to it. So really interesting.
And these 1 gallons are 2-year 1 gallons. So you can see it is a true dwarf. These 1 gallons have some really nice branching to them. So if you're looking for bonsai, these would be an excellent candidate for turning into a bonsai if someone turned this into a bonsai, because they're really starting to get some really nice branching on these 2-year 1 gallons.
For sure.
So next up we have PINUS KORAIENSIS Jack Corbett. This is a cool pyramidal blue Korean pine that has some neat dense habit, but also some twisting needles to it.
I love the color on this. It kind of gets a blue-green silvery color to it. It's almost blue and silver the most, but you get some green tones on that new growth. It just makes a really fun tree. The appearance of it just gives it a really cool look there in the garden. Very dense and full too. I like how thick the tree is when it's growing. Now this one grows zones 3 through 8.
Yeah, and you want to give this some sunlight and good drainage. There's a real big one that's actually a really old specimen at Dr. John Criticos's garden. We'll have to go shoot a video on sometime soon, because this is such an amazing plant. The blue color, the density, the twisting needles add a lot of texture and color in the landscape. In a tree that's typically going to get 6 foot by 3 foot in 10 years. So it is a slower grower, but over time, you know, a lot of these trees do grow with age. And we often talk about what maturity means, and often that's a made-up term. That's why on our website, we often talk about trees in terms of 10 or 15 years, so you can gauge to figure out how big this tree is going to get in your landscape.
So we're bringing a lot more conifers back today. These are actually in our 1.5 size, so just slightly bigger root ball than the regular 1 gallon, the trade 1 gallon. Next up we have SKYLANDS. Now you've seen us talk about this tree before. It's been in some of our conifer videos. We love SKYLANDS. The original one's there at the state park in New Jersey we got to go and see. It was just really cool to see the original plant there.
Yeah, this is a nice upright oriental spruce that really has some nice golden color to it. You're going to give this some morning sun with protection from the hot afternoon sun in the deep south, and in most hot climates you're going to give it some protection from the hot afternoon sun. But sunlight really peaks up the yellow on the needles. And this just makes a nice upright with some really, really, really nice yellow color to the needles, adding a lot of yellow in the landscape. You know I love yellow. Same applies to conifers as it does to maple, so you can check out our video on using yellow in your garden. And this is an amazing upright yellow conifer.
So whenever possible, Tim and I love to go and see the original. We actually got to go to the SKYLANDS estate and see the original one of these there in the ground. It was pretty cool to see that. It's in upstate New Jersey, and just a fun plant that's made it all around the world now from that original plant.
Yeah, that was such a cool experience getting to see that plant growing. You know, there's actually a couple there on the estate grounds, and getting to track down and see the original one. We took a bunch of photos with it, and such a cool plant to see one of the originals, because this tree has become so popular in the nursery trade because of that upright, dense, pyramidal form and that yellow color. I mean, that yellow color just makes this tree stand out in the landscape. Great companion plant to Jack Corbett, by the way, because the yellows and the blues just contrast each other so well.
You know, I can't help but think of going to Nancy Vermeulen's when I think of this plant. When we went to Nancy Vermeulen's, now hers had that irregular shape because she pruned it so much for signwood. She actually had like the cherry picker there that would raise her up and she could cut down the tree for all the signwood. So I walked up to it and thought, what is that? Because it was like the most columnar SKYLANDS ever, but really cool plant.
Yeah, I love this plant. Good yellow color and a great conifer. Just make sure you're giving the conifers good drainage, because they love that good drainage. Yeah, so next up, this is an awesome plant. I love this plant. The SEIUN KAKU.
Makawa variant?
Yeah, I would say it's a Makawa variant. When it was brought back from Japan, they pinned it as a faster growing Makawa. And you can definitely see that because it has that tightly layering habit. The foliage is a little bit different, but it doesn't have that layering habit to
Yeah,
it.
it definitely has that Kermit the Frog vibe to it, though.
Yeah.
You get that interesting Makawa-like vibe to it. You know, I think that's the perfect way to describe this one, as a faster growing Makawa Yetsubusa. Does have larger foliage. Because it being similar to Makawa, it's also excellent for sun. This one can go in full sun up to zone 8. Again, siding is important. Good drainage on that's very important, but it's excellent for its sun tolerance, and a really nice orangey to red fall color as well on this one.
Yeah, really good on the fall color on that. I love seeing Kaku just simply because of that dense layering habit. You've got a gorgeous one in your garden.
Oh yeah.
We've got a gorgeous one in the garden at Maplewood Gardens as well. So if you come to our open house, you have to check the one out at Maplewood Knoll Gardens, because that one is just spectacular there beside our Shiranami.
We'll have to do an update video with that big one in the garden.
Yeah, we need
Lovely plant though. I would definitely throw it in that Makawa family. I think it's in that category. Some great sizes on these today in our 2 gallon. So we're bringing this one to you in the 2 gallon size. But, you know, really good plant, makes a great container plant or in the landscape. If you love Makawa, but you want one that's going to get slightly larger and a little bit more out there, it's a great way to go.
We're talking 8 foot in 10 years, so much faster than a Makawa.
Yeah.
And
definitely gives you those Makawa vibes though.
It does. It does. With that tightly layering habit, especially as this tree gets a little bit of size to it, you really start to see that layering habit really show off. Now this is a cool plant that I got to see the original one on. This is GINKGO biloba grindstone.
Yeah, grindstone's a really fun one. It is an upright and narrow ginkgo with a very columnar overall habit to it. Tim got to go to that very first one there. It's at a rest stop there in upstate Ohio. And just a beautiful plant. Now you're gonna get your classic golden yellow fall color on this ginkgo, but really what makes it popular is that very narrow, thin habit to it. Now, we're bringing these to you in 1 gallons as well as in our 2 gallons here.
Yeah, so we've definitely got some good sizes, some 2 gallons and some 1 gallons of this. So if you're looking for a narrow ginkgo, it's a male ginkgo, so it's not fruiting, that's gonna give you some amazing yellow fall color. Grindstone's an excellent selection for that. Ginkgos love lime, and they also want some sunlight. So give it a little bit of sunlight to full sun and garden lime. We're not talking about the fruit, we're talking about the garden lime. And you just sprinkle around the base of it. That helps it get established and makes the alkalinity of the soil so that the ginkgos will take up water and nutrients more efficiently. So always think about doing that. That's a great way to grow ginkgos. But this being a nice narrow ginkgo with some good yellow color, I mean, it's hard to beat.
Excellent tree. Definitely some good size of this if you want to establish ginkgo right at the gate. And a really durable plant. I mean, these can handle a good bit of sun. They're exceptionally salt tolerant, heat tolerant, and cold tolerant. So ginkgos are very, very durable. Check out our video on how to grow ginkgos. We go a little bit more of a deep dive on the specifics of ginkgos. You know, they definitely want good drainage as well. But they're one of the easiest plants we do to grow. So next up here we have Hortsman's Silverlock. This is a Abies coreana that's always highly sought after for its amazing variegation.
Yeah, I love this plant because the leaves, the needles on this thing turn upwards, revealing the silver underside to the foliage. That just gives this such a unique color. And this being a nice upright shape with that white color, that just makes Silverlock really shine in the landscape and garden.
Now this is an Abies coreana. These are amazing species. I love the new growth on them when they kind of get that like tipped white. Almost looks like, you know, icebreakers a broom off this, but it almost looks like that icy growth to it. Gives it that very cool appearance there in the garden.
Yeah, Silverlock is probably one of our most popular conifers that when we list them on MrMaple, they don't last too long. And this one is such a great tree out in the landscape and garden because it does make a nice upright conifer with that silver color. Again, give it good drainage. In the south, you want to give them protection from the hot afternoon sun. These are grafted onto coreana and not onto firma. So these are grafted onto Abies coreana. Now,
we always do list it specifically on our website when we get them on firma, so there's no confusion there. You can always look at our website and we'll list it as almost a separate cultivar. So we'll say Hortsman on
firma. If it is on firma, and these are on coreana. Silverlock though just gives you some really nice silver colors with that recurved back needle that just makes this plant give a unique texture, but also that unique color with that silver blue that makes it stand out.
Yeah, awesome plant for sure.
So next up, we've got ACER Palmatum Winter Flame. If you like the coral bark and you're looking for a more dwarf selection, look no further. Winter Flame is a great selection, 6 to 8 foot in 10 years. but gives you that coral bark that you love with the Sengu Kaku and a much smaller form in 10 years.
Yeah, it's a nice smaller overall habit. I also find you get really good color on this one. I mean, it's one of the brighter ones in the winter garden. You know, I'd say this every time we talk about coral barks, but I take more pictures of them in that winter garden than even in the spring. Exceptional golden yellow fall color with splashes of red in it, but it really lights up that winter garden with some bright red stemming.
Now, this one has a dense, compact habit. These have been staked up and trimmed off the side branches to push more growth. So we've got a lot of height, which is really unusual for winter flames in 1 gallons. Now this one will densen up quite a bit and has a really nice dense canopy to it, with also being that dwarfer form of a Sengu Kaku.
You know, these are a great plant for the landscape or the container. You definitely want to take into consideration that the container takes them down 1 zone, but being the colder, you know, these work zone 6 through 9. So be careful there in the container, as it can go down 1 zone, but an excellent plant for the landscape or the container.
Now also, these have some really good fall colors on the leaves. And that's when I really love this plant, because the bark intensifies during the winter as it's going into winter, and the fall color is a bright yellow. So often you'll get some really nice red stemming with some really good yellow fall color that really plays off each other very well going into the fall, and just is an anticipation for that winter months when those coral barks really shine out there in the winter landscape and garden.
Did we do a full video on ADRIAN'S yet? I think we did.
We didn't.
We didn't yet? We may have to do one soon. ADRIAN'S Compact is up next. This is some great size 1 gallons. I love this one for its pinkish new growth in early spring over the red. It's a very bold red most of the season, and just an excellent large leaf dwarf is kind of the neat thing about that one. It has very large foliage for a dwarf.
And we're talking about a 6-foot tree in 10 years. So this isn't going to be a very large tree, but this is a tree that you may want to give a little protection from the hot afternoon sun in hotter climates, but give it some sunlight to really peak up those pink colors. So some morning sun's fantastic for this plant. And ADRIAN'S Compact will really give you a nice, dense red dwarf out there in the landscape with a little more upright habit.
Yeah, lovely plant. Another one that's a great candidate for container gardening. Again, always be advised that good drainage is the key on container gardening. Don't put that tray below them. Let them drain all the way through, but an excellent candidate. I love this for a dwarf with a lot of different texture to it. That larger overall foliage is very unique, I think, in a dwarf Japanese maple this size, and just a lovely plant in the landscape. Get this one out and let it do its thing.
The leaf also curls a little bit to it, which gives this a unique texture of being a dwarf, especially as this tree densens up and fills out. So this is another one that won't last long on the 10 at 10. This is OLSEN'S Frosted Strawberry. This one really has some nice frosted colors in the spring, like you'd think of a frosted strawberry, with that reticulation that's reminiscent of some of the Ghost series or some of the reticulated types. And where you just see the etching of the veins and the two-tone colors of that strawberry and some lime green.
Yeah, a really fun plant. This one was actually not named by Olsen, but named by Del Laux for, I believe, his cousin or brother-in-law. I know they're related. But this one was named by Del Laux in honor of Olsen. So a beautiful plant there in that Del Laux lineage. Probably a seedling that came from Olsen to Del, I believe.
Yeah, you want to give this some protection from the hot afternoon sun typically. Although I say that not too far from here in one of our gardens, we have a fairly large one growing in full sun in our area.
Yeah.
But this is one that you want to make sure you give good drainage. And I've seen a lot more success growing OLSEN'S Frosted Strawberry in the ground versus containers. A lot of times people put it in the container, they don't water it enough during the winter months, and water it too much. So it gets a little trickier in containers. In the ground, OLSEN'S Frosted Strawberry appears to be a lot easier to grow.
Yeah, I mean, there's an older specimen of it around here.
Yeah.
Lovely plant, really gives you some fun. It's probably the OG of the strawberry ones, right? There's several strawberry ones out there now. OLSEN'S Frosted Strawberry, though, definitely a beautiful plant to be growing. And it gives you some more of that reticulated ghost-like variegation in the garden. Always popular for that.
I think those lime greens and the strawberry together just give this plant that extra showcase out there in the landscape and garden. I mean, that combination of the contrast between the two colors make that tree just stand out.
For sure. So next up here we have ACER Palmatum Dissectum Dragon's Fire. And we got some great size 1 gallons in these. They've actually been staked up. These are high grafts of Dragon's Fire. Dragon's Fire is always popular for that color. You know, I'll go back to Mike Francis doing that presentation on what's in a name. Mike Francis Sr. presented that at the Maple Society many, many years ago. And there's something about a really good name. Dragon's Fire really captures the color of this one. It kind of sparks that bit of the imagination, and it definitely makes you think about this tree in a different light, being the name Dragon's Fire with it.
The thing I like about Dragon's Fire is that it gives you more of that mauve red and the green stemming. So it's not your maroon red that people think of when they think of a red lace leaf, which means that this one can be used to plant near those and give you a different color contrast and stand out in the landscape and garden. So this is a great tree you can plant near a green lace leaf or a deep maroon like a Tamukiyama and really get a third color of this bronze red, this mauve red with the green stemming that has such contrast with each other.
Some really flushes of new growth, some really great flushes of new growth on this one too, especially in the summer. You can get some pink reds. It almost looks like fire splashing off the plant. Kind of a nice yellowish green eye in the early spring as well. Really unique for its color pattern. Another one that works in the container or in the ground. You can definitely watch our video on planting lace leaves to create that mounding appearance. We show you a mountain range with lace leaves. Dragon's Fire would be an awesome candidate for something like that, but it works equally as well in the container. It's one that's often very popular for that container for patios or decks.
Now, where this one gets its name is that amazing fall color. You see some bright oranges in the fall, which makes people think of a Dragon's Fire with that weeping habit just sort of flowing out. This is an awesome tree that I think a lot of people should have in their landscape and garden. So next up we have ACER Shirasawanum Aureum, the golden full moon maple. Some really good sizes on these right now, and they've been staked up. Now, this is one of those plants that you want to give some protection from the hot afternoon sun.
Definitely give this one some shade. You know, stop me if you've heard this before, but check out our video on ACER Shirasawanum Aureum. We just did an excellent video on that. It's in St. John's in the Wilderness. You can see Tim and I and Brian just being kids playing around in there, going around looking at some beautiful specimens and enjoying that. One of the OG Shirasawanum cultivars, probably one of the most popular ones, ACER Shirasawanum Aureum. It's the quintessential golden full moon. When people say they're after a golden full moon, it's typically this plant right here. A classic Japanese maple, but definitely check out our video on that one. We joke, you know, we're coming up on a lot of different videos, and we might have to do a full listing and see a checklist of every video we've done so far. We might have the first book covered on a video format.
Not quite, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch that aren't in there, a bunch that are.
True. There's more to come too, though.
Now, this is such a fun plant. It's one of the plants I like to start out in a container and move around the garden to find its happy place. Once you find its happy place, give it, plant it. Make sure it's got good drainage, of course, but dappled to protection from hot afternoon sun really makes this tree shine. And this is a tree that can brighten up those dark places in the garden with some of that bright yellow. You know I love the yellows. You've heard that in almost every video I think we do. There's something to do with yellow. And this is one of those trees they can use to bring out the other colors in the landscape with the yellow color.
I've got this one in high dappled shade in the garden, and it really just stands out. It's really catches the eye there. You'll probably see soon, I don't think it's up yet, but our Ukigumo video, I have it planted in a similar setting to that with high dappled shade, and it really shows out in that landscape.
Just a few more left on what we're talking about today. There's 5 more past this didn't make the video. There's still some really good plants.
We just ran out of room on the table, really. We got more plants to show you. ACER PALMATUM TSUMA GAKI. Now, this one has that red nails to it. It's one that's always highly sought after for that fingernailed look. They're still even expressing this here right now in some shade, but typically in the ground they're going to hold that even later into the summer. Just an awesome plant for that two-tone approach, especially in that spring garden.
Give TSUMA GAKI some protection from the hot afternoon sun, but this is a plant that just makes a really good specimen, typically about 6 foot to 7 foot in height, and it'll actually get about 7 foot in width as well, and it'll give you some really nice oranges to reds in the fall.
Whenever I've seen mature specimens of this, they do tend to get that more rounded canopy to them. Very nice dense shape to it. Awesome overall plant. Definitely recommend late day shade. You'll hold those colors later into the summer and you'll have better foliage. Another thing I like about this one is the very large leaf. It's got a very large size leaf. When those are first leafing out, you know, it's kind of got that curled hand approach to it when the ACER's first leafing out there in the early spring. It's one you definitely want to get the camera out when it's first starting to leaf out because it's a really unique look in the landscape. And it just looks like a little hand with red fingernails.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where the name TSUMA GAKI comes from. It basically means like red painted nails. And that cup down foliage in the spring, like Matt was talking about, just adds so much to that, looking like a little hand with that painted nails to it.
So we better hurry here because you guys got to actually catch the 10 at 10. These premiere before the 10 at 10. So I know this video is going long. We're not going to hold you to the point where you miss shopping on MrMaple.com today. 10 a.m. is when that video's, when the trees go live that you're watching today. So we better wrap it up here in a minute so they actually have time to check that email and shop with us a little bit. But last but not least in our video, we've got some nice 2-gallon KAMAGATAs for you.
Yeah, KAMAGATA is a selection by JD Veritrees. And this is such a cool little dwarf, compact habit, extremely heat tolerant, one of the more heat tolerant maples we do, but is also a nice, dense, small dwarf.
You know, these would be perfect for bonsai artists. We've got a lot of density down low on these. Veritrees, this one specifically, as a great Japanese maple for rock gardens. So it's a very heat tolerant dwarf, especially when grown right. This one's gonna have just a really nice shape to it. And what I like about our 2Gs right now are these are really dense and thick. So I think somebody could do some really intricate work. These would look great in a container garden or in a bonsai setting for sure.
Now, Matt did some Japanese classes.
Oh yeah, all I learned is that I didn't know anything.
And we learned that KAMAGATA, they don't believe that actually means eagle claw. And when he was talking
to Romanji's so funny because, you know, phonically, all Romanji is how something sounded phonically when a nurseryman said it. So, and then it goes into the nomenclature, whether that's correct or not. So, you know, I could say something the way we think it's phonically sounded out. And then my teacher may go, well, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And so, and I could show her the Romanji on the paper and that wouldn't mean anything. But if I said it perfectly correct, she'd be like, oh, and then she may write down, you know, different kanji or hiragana that makes sense for what that means. So we've heard this actually may be like a woodland duck. That's what my professor said. It made more sense for it to be
a small woodland duck.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot more sense because washi no o translates as eagle claw in Japanese.
Yeah, I actually think that might be an error that's in Veritrees' book.
Yeah, they say that there's washi no o and eagle claw are two separate plants when in fact it's just a translation of a Japanese name.
Yeah, lovely sizes on these though. There's some great looking 2 gallons as you can see right here. It's still a true dwarf, so it's going to be very compact and nice there for you. Great candidate for a container garden. I mean, I could see this in a decorative pot, just looking amazing. KAMAGATA exceptionally heat tolerant. This one goes zones 5 through 9, and it can definitely handle a good bit of sun even in zone 8. So you want to give it protection in zone 9, but zone 8 it is very durable for.
Yeah, we're out in Western North Carolina. You can get by with a lot more than you can in other places, but there's a southwest exposure at Maplewood Knoll Gardens where a lot of plants didn't really like it because it was the sun just beat down on the
red brick background.
The red brick background. And we planted a KAMAGATA there and it's thrived and done well. And it's a great plant for some of those harder spaces to grow because it is so heat tolerant. Mm-hmm. We love this as a small little dwarf Japanese maple. And it's one of those plants, you just want to make sure you give it good drainage. And this is a plant that does fantastic for you. A selection by JD Veritrees himself.
Hey, thanks for watching this video. This is our 10 at 10 for May 24th of 2022. If you're watching this a year later, our sizes could be slightly larger or slightly smaller. This is indicative of our sizes around this time frame. We're always working to get cool new things back on our website. So also if you're watching this later, you know, sign up to be notified when one of these items is back in stock if it isn't right now. If you're watching the live premiere of these, we've been doing the 10 at 10 videos as a premiere every Tuesday at 9 a.m. So you get that 9 a.m. premiere here on YouTube to get that sneak peek, see things early, see what they look like. You know, we have them in hand. You can kind of see the sizes, kind of have a better feel for what's going to be on there. But definitely sign up for that email because you're going to have 20 new plants coming today and a lot of fun stuff. We always like to go with as much interesting stuff as we can on every 10 at 10.
Now, our MrMaple Festival is going to be super exciting. If you can make it here on Monday, Memorial Day, do it because this is going to be a fun event. Super exciting. We got a lot of fun stuff here.
Celebrity appearances by Brian Rule.
Yeah.
Jody. So there's some celebrity appearances here from some of our staff that you definitely know if you're a MrMaple fan. We're going to have a band. We're going to have a food truck. 3 of our guys and girls are in a band that's phenomenal called Bad Rabbit. We're going to have Carolina Ace's food truck here serving barbecue. Just a fun day to be had here at MrMaple. And we hope we can get ready. We're pulling everybody together to get everything done we can for this to make it as awesome as possible for you. This will be our first official day open in over 2 years. So, you know, we're excited about that, but we're definitely going to get back on some construction. So don't miss our open day. I don't know how many more we'll have this close, but we'll be doing some more open hours hopefully in the future. But this is definitely one of your great chances to come see MrMaple in person see a lot of what we got here, meet the staff, and hopefully listen to some music and have some great barbecue too, because I think it's gonna be a fun day.
Again, I want to reiterate, don't wait to buy these until then, because a lot of these that we're talking about today might not be here. They're probably already sold out. So the best way to do that is at 10 a.m. shop today. Whenever you add them to your cart, they don't hold them for you until you check out. And if you're coming to the MrMaple Festival, use that MrMaple pickup code. That's all capital letters, no spaces, and hit apply. And those will be tagged for you at the MrMaple Festival whenever you come.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. God bless.
And have a great day.